You're not saying anything, Robin.
Brilliant, buddy. Did I wait long enough this time?
I don't know. It's hard to tell. How are you, Mr. Robiny, sir?
Well, too bad. I'm not too bad. I am currently positive for the COVID.
Well, at least it's good to take a positive attitude on life.
Yeah, I'm not too bad. I've been on holidays. I haven't done any gaming for a couple of weeks, or not wargaming, and we all got COVID.
Boo.
One of us survived, which is interesting. After those of you scientific mind, he was the one who most recently had his vaccine. He didn't get it. So let's do this. We're in various stages of covidity. I actually got it first, but didn't realise. We've been busy contaminating the fourth of Germany we were in. And it was only really when we got home, my wife had a really bad sore throat, so I better do a test. And no, it's positive. Well, that's just everybody else. No, everybody else. So it's been a bit of a damp homecoming, if you like.
Yeah. Along with the weather.
But it's been. Well, I can't complain too much because it was horrible when I left, and then Germany was it was hot and then it was a good bit cooler and wetter, so that was quite nice. But yeah, so I have been ill, but my current hobby mood. But how are you anyway? How are you?
I think I'm better than you at the minute, although I have found also that my hobbying mood is generally very at the moment. So I still have many things on my shelf looking at me that I need to paint and that I've not touched for weeks.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit the summer.
Yeah, it could be.
I think because everybody, I mean, even Games Workshop, we do the news and everything. We're looking through this, and it's not much.
Not masses.
Not much. Not much. And I just feel like everybody's kind of like in their summer holiday mode, and not everybody's around. And all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I feel it's a bit flat. Hopefully, it'll purple up as we go into the autumn. I had hoped while I was on holiday because I've been feeling a bit flat. I think because it had been so hot in the build-up. So I hadn't done any painting and just felt really. I hadn't got anything done that I wanted to get done. It was too hot to do anything. And I had thought on holiday I would take stock and decide what games I wanted to play and what miniatures I was going to paint and kind of how I was going to plan. I almost treat, I don't know about you, you probably don't because you're not a stay-at-home parent, but I almost treat the return to school in September almost like a new year and have like new resolutions and how I'm going to do for the autumn kind of thing. And I thought I'd plan all that and I'd be really positive when it came back. But I didn't do any of it because I just felt too crap most of the time.
Yeah, which
so I didn't do any hobby stuff at all or any hobby planning. So I feel a bit of sixes and sevens and come back here now. It's obviously everybody's ill, but I still haven't got that mojo back yet.
It's very hard as well to sort of try and take stock of what games you want to play, or at least I'm finding it, because we've called this the Shiny Games Roundup for a reason because various people do suddenly release stuff and we're just immediately like, oh, screw everything else I've been playing, that we've been talking about playing for ages. I'm just going to pick up that new thing now and play that instead because it's shiny. And we tend to do that a lot, like a lot of our listeners and watchers out there, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean it's funny. I less so, but I was sort of maybe we should have got the Horus Heresy Aeronautica book, and maybe we should have got Warcry. It's that kind of constant. Maybe I should have got that, this, that, and the other. Not just Games Workshop Waterbury. I've been reading the Lion Rampant rules, which are historical. They look great little rules. I'd love to get some miniatures for that, but I can't really see that being a fruitful avenue of spending time and money. But on the other hand, it's fun.
Yeah.
So
And it's that thing of I think we keep thinking about what can we put on the channel, but then we keep bouncing back and forth between we should do what we want and collect what we want and play what we want, and if people want to watch it, great, but that's not the end of the world if they don't. And then we keep going, but maybe we could do Warcry because everyone would want to watch Warcry, and then just keep it going through that back and forth of we should do this, no, we should do what we want to do, but we should do that, no, let's just do what we want to do, no, but we should do this one.
Yeah, we've talked about that a lot, haven't we? That's the kind of the sort of flips the problem of doing it on YouTube and stuff. You don't want to just do something for 10 people when you could be possibly doing that 20 people. You know,
for 11.
Honestly, yeah, but we do just do flips and one thing. The other, I think, is fine. But it's very hard. I wish I could find a game I wish really wanted to play. I do wish that game was Underworld, because we did really enjoy it. I love the Hexbane Hunters or whatever they called it. A really nice thematic warband. All of the more recent warbands are really thematic. I really enjoyed painting the Hexbanes and just sitting off something. I really liked playing Underworld, but I don't want to play it all the time. I enjoyed our games, even though I think I won. I enjoyed the games.
Really says that we should only play Masters of the Universe Battleground from now on. I mean, there was a little bit of me there when I saw that come out. I thought, oh, maybe we could ride the wave of nostalgia. And I thought, no, don't do it again, Pete.
Is it the one that shite?
Sorry?
Or is that the one that shite? I believe there are two.
Oh,
I don't know which one. I haven't played. I didn't know one that's awful.
I don't think this is the awful. I think this is a newer one that came out afterwards, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
But it was.
I must confess, I'm a little bit old for Masters.
Yeah, you probably are a little bit, actually. To be honest, I don't remember watching too much of it.
It has 60s. I had a friend who was really into it, but he was a little bit younger than me. Not much, but enough, and I just thought it was a bit shit.
That's the thing. As soon as you start to get a bit old for the cartoons, they're immediately rubbish, and they're all just not like the cartoons I used to watch, and therefore they're all inferior. Which is an interesting leading on to our subject later on about lore and stuff, but we'll come back around to that one later on.
Just giving away a bit of my class upbringing now, but we were very much a BBC household and not an ITV household, and I believe Peter, he may have been on ITV. I didn't really get exposed to it.
I don't remember anything about the channels I watched when I was younger. I couldn't have told you any of them really.
Right.
I knew the programmes, couldn't tell you what channels they were on.
Well, just if there were adverts in them. That's really the...
I can't even remember that now, but yeah.
Fair enough.
So, I mean, I guess that kind of is a bit of a summary for all the stuff we've been up to, because you've been on holiday and I've been on holiday, and there hasn't been too much shiny stuff going on recently that's kind of been distracting us or catching our eye. GW have been doing the usual stuff and spewing out tons and tons of things, and I found myself looking at most of them and just sort of going, nah, not really that interested right now.
Apart from Warcry, I would agree with that. I'm not interested in the Space War thing. And the new, they do a new Necromunda model, fairly really, don't they? That new Goliath model.
Say that again, sorry.
The new Goliath model that they.
Oh yeah, that was
awful.
really.
And not only is it awful, it's awful and in resin.
And it was a really random. Like, why have you done that? No one needed that ever.
No, right.
It's like somebody sort of just did it, and then they were like, "Can I release it?" And I'm like, fine, but it's only going out in resin. Oh.
Yeah.
It was
It's like the opposite of the Glorfinder model, which was an amazing model. It was like in resin. I was like, oh, maybe I might still get it, but
but probably
nobody need that Goliath model.
It's like I saw that some of the details are starting to make their way out for the ultimate edition of Blitz Bowl. I'm like, I don't really want to go for any faff of trying to get hold of that one, because the last one was so much of a faff. But at some point, someone's going to scan the team cards, and then that's pretty much all we'll need if we ever want to play any of those teams. Yeah,
we should play some Blitz Bowl again. Maybe we should do that this week. No, we're going to play Blade Ball, but maybe we should do.
Well, I mean, depends on. Hopefully, you'll test negative for them. But yeah, if we were, I mean, we could do either.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
We could do either. Really.
Yeah. Either we could both. We do both going on. Do like speed Blade Ball, Blade Ball and Blitz Bowl. The 4 Bs. The 4 Bs of Blitz Bowl.
Blitz blot. I don't know. I've forgotten now. Blitz blot. Something. If you can.
Blitz,
If you can.
block, blast, and blitz.
If you can dodge a battle axe, you can dodge a ball or something. Oh.
Rijo said he'd ordered it. Have you had to order it from the US, North? Or did you order that? Is it available in Australia? I'm a bit disappointed that we didn't get a copy. But anyway, because I thought we kind of that kind of small game was our niche. We did lots of lovely videos for last time.
Yeah.
But we obviously got overlooked.
With Fire Team and Bladeborn and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that. It was a bit. It's a bit like with Warcry when we thought we were going to get a copy of that and then we didn't. I was kind of like, we didn't. Oh, that's a shit. Actually, no, that's actually.
Well, I actually requested one because I thought it would be interesting, and the guy said he'd send me one, but I think maybe we were just behind the curve, and I think basically the way GW works, pretty much, if you're behind the curve, that's it. There's no point. There's no catching up on the curve. So I think because they've got better at sending stuff out. So I think by the time I'd asked, they'd already told me.
Yeah, could be.
But
it's probably for the best. Mr. S would be sitting there with another.
Well, it probably is
in
because you were away and then sick. So actually, it'd just be me.
Yeah.
Surrounded by grey plastic.
And to be honest, I wasn't that taken with any of the new models, and it sounds like one of the main things they've added in the new Warcry is these reaction things, which like, oh good, more stuff to try and remember.
Yeah. I'm sort of interested in those released. I haven't looked at them yet, but they may have already been existed. I may have already seen them. But a couple of times on my Facebook page, I've been pushing these new, I don't know if they're new, but these new light rules for Kill Team. And I sort of would like to play that. It might just be the basic version that we played that game, but I sort of would like to play that with a few different teams, just to see if it can be a good, easy game without getting bogged down in all the modifiers and things. That's really what I'm looking for. I know we end up leaning back towards like the Mantic style games then, but I'm looking for just something I can play with 6 to 10 models without too much, without too much once you played.
The thing that worries me about like the new version of Kill Team and whatever it's called, I can't remember what it's called now, Space Hulk Gallo Dark or whatever it is. I'm worried because there's not going to be levels. You've not got so much in the way of terrain and stuff. There's still going to be cover and there's still going to be line of sight, which might be a bit of a faff. But it's just going to be all of the extra rules again for everything. It's just, really? I just know what GW
it depends on how. I'm hoping they'll be simpler, but I may be. I know that's. Well, yeah.
Like,
we'll find out. But I'm hoping because it should be simpler because it should be narrow fire arc.
You're like, surely this time it'll be simpler. Smash.
Yeah.
Oh.
Jack Matthews, where is a Bladeborn available to buy? Basically nowhere. I think they've sold out, and it was in through Game in the UK because you're based in the UK, aren't you? But I don't think they've got any. So we've talked about that before. It frustrates me that they don't support that kind of small box game more. But I think we might have been a Marlow moment one week. It's one of the things I would definitely change, that they would actually continue to support these small box games, not just bring them out as one hit. That they would actually do. I know some of them have got subsequent editions, but they'd actually keep them available in the shops. People were playing them because I've realised over the years I haven't got the time or the inclination to play the great big games, but I quite enjoy their small games.
Yeah, things like Bladeborn and Fireteam. I mean, we haven't tried getting any other fire teams put together for that, although we do have the models to be able to make some of them. They were a lot more fun, I think, a lot of the time than our forays into 40k and AOS, which, I think...
The problem is, because they're not an entity in themselves that people play, there's no support, it seems pointless going to the effort of building a fire team to play it on the channel. I know some people watch it, but it just feels pointless because it's kind of like just literally a fire and forget from GW. And what's the point in us?
You could probably put you've got those the Astra Militarum, those Kazakin, like the SAS Trooper ones, haven't you? You've got them, and they don't do like 5 models, so something like that wouldn't be too bad to paint because it would just be a nice palette cleanser, as it were. But yeah, it's definitely.
Yeah.
a shame
Well,
that
maybe
they
I've had it there. Actually, I was painting them, wasn't
don't.
it?
And Bladeborn, I guess we were lucky with Bladeborn because it's like, oh, all the warbands you've got, we've already got them. They're already painted, so we haven't got to do anything for that.
Yeah, the label was nice and easy.
Yeah, Mr. Morph says great cut down version to walk around Kill Team, in his opinion, better than the full games. I mean, I definitely agree with Kill Team and versus Fire Team. Although we did play that one game of Kill Team with the basic Marines and the basic Necrons and some basic mission rules, and we had a lot more fun in that when we were comparing that to.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
But Bladeborn feels a bit more tactical to me. This is kind of, and people will probably tell me I'm wrong, but this is the problem I have with GW games, the bigger ones. They don't feel very tactical to me. They just feel like it's a case of if you don't bring the right army at the beginning of the game, you've probably lost. You know what I mean? I don't feel like the decisions that I make on the table, other than, so I feel like the dice rolls affect it far more than my decisions. Whereas Underworlds, obviously the dice rolls do affect it, but I feel like you have much more control over what's going on. You can't completely mitigate dice rolls. And it also felt like the same with a Fire Team. I remember it was really quite tactical which models you moved and where you put them, because you could block access to the objective points and things in a way, because, and that's what the hex system does for you, isn't it? Because in a game of, in a freeform game, it's much easier to kind of run round people. I mean, I know there's like rules about you can't approach within 2 inches and things like that, so you can do it. But I think it's just easier. Whereas in a hex game, it's certainly easier to visualise on a hex game. You can't go through. There's no gap. There is no gap because they're all string across these, and that's a blocked hex, and you just can't look around. There's no debate about it, which I prefer.
Yeah, and I think with things like AOS and stuff, it's okay as a really light game, but the minute you want to start taking it remotely seriously, it is all decided pretty much by the models you buy at the start. And if you I mean, it definitely is. If you want to be mildly competitive, at least anyway, there are certain units which you just like. You don't take those. You'll take these units, and you'll take these heroes, and you'll give them these things. It's a bit like when you go into Championship in Underworlds. It's like there are cards that you will take, and there are cards you will never take if you want to be competitive. At least
and some of the best games.
Yeah.
Some of the best games are the best cards, the more interesting cards. But you don't ever take them because they're not functional.
Exactly.
In the same way.
And to me that's a shame, because it especially in like AOS, because you don't want to sit there and buy a bunch of models and spend ages painting them and then realise, oh, this unit is dog shit. I never want to play with this.
I also don't like the fact that stuff gets nerfed.
Yeah.
I see why they have to do it, but at least in Underworld, if they nerf a card, they just nerf a card.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know they have made certain warbands much harder to play than they were, but you've still got everything else to play it. Whereas if they nerf your beloved unit of 40 whatever, there aren't many units of 40 whatever anymore, or even your big centerpiece model that you spent ages painting and spent a lot of money on, if they nerf it and it's suddenly no good, that feels a bit rubbish. That said, I've never really played it, so I can't really comment. And the few people playing our Discord, and we've got a little AOS channel in our Discord, and those games look fabulous, and the people who play it clearly love it and love the way it looks, and they love playing it, and so there's clearly something that doesn't appeal to me in it, but I can totally see that there are other people enjoying it, and I wish that I could get some of that to rub off, so to speak. I know you always think that's a bit of a rude expression. There we go.
Well, because my Warhammer Plus subscription comes to an end soon, and there's a little bit of me that's tempted to renew to get the models. So I'm trying to watch some of the content to try and convince myself that actually it is worth me renewing, because I do watch this stuff, I've tried to watch several of the battle reports.
You haven't been rubbing off doing that.
No. And I've been watching them.
Okay. Well, I just thought where you were going.
And I've been watching some of the games, some of the AOS games and 40k games,
Right.
and they look spectacular. But the minute they start talking, I'm like, I just don't care. I just don't care. Whatever it is you're doing, that so and so is casting whatever spell to give them +1 and. Well, I'm sorry. I can't bring myself. It looks fantastic. I can't bring myself to care about it. But something smaller on a hex board, that feels like it's much more involved to me and much more influenced by your decision round on round.
This is why we need to get building our game.
Yeah.
Battle Masters. Oh, we should play. Was it Battle Law? Somebody said it's
Yeah.
been upgraded to, or upgraded version. We need to get some more. We need to get some more of this stuff going so we can play some hex-based games. I still want to do a kind of equivalent of Undaunted, but with fantasy armies, or based on Battle Law with a little bit of deck building in there, so you can do tactical choices of your units. I think there's some potential there for some really great stuff. I won't have time to build it. But this was the kind of thing, going back to what we were saying right at the beginning, this is the kind of thing that I thought, I might think about that while I'm on holiday because I have spare time. But I didn't
I mean, going on holiday when you've got kids, there is less spare time than when you're sitting at home in the summer holidays. Because you're like, go out and do things.
Yeah, I think because we sometimes go to Malaga on holiday and we stay in an apartment and the kids kind of just amuse themselves. And I haven't got as much chores to do, so I think there it's better. But this place we haven't been to for 4 years, and it's a hotel, and now we have got kind of separate rooms. But the boys are much bigger now, so they were around a lot more than I remember. It's 4 years. I think I just underestimated how much less time I would have, and also because there's less places to break out in the morning. And my wife was asleep. I couldn't just have the light on and start typing away on the computer.
I did think again about the Battle Masters thing, and I did look up Battle Law, and I think it's only on eBay because it's not in production anymore, which means it's exactly the right time for us to get a copy.
Absolutely.
But it's it's like for a copy of Battle Law, I'm not even sure if it's the right version, but they're like 45 quid for the second edition. But I'm not sure if that has like all the models and stuff, or whether that's just like a basic board game thing and stuff like that. I also couldn't find things that weren't like the Spanish version and stuff, so I was like, ugh, I can't find a copy of the game that would actually be any good.
Design alone, then it's easier.
So it was one of those ones that I really did like the look of, because it was like Battle Masters. It was a bit more advanced, but it wasn't too advanced, and it had full armies in it, and it was hex based still. It did actually look like it was like a decent middle ground between AOS and Underworlds, because that's kind of what we want, isn't it? It's like somewhere between AOS and Underworlds.
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely. Or having now played Battle Masters, I want something that's a bit more tactically interesting, but like Battle with Valentine's brilliantly painted model. Yeah. So we probably should try and at least a little bit key to our agenda. Our agenda's a bit light this evening, but so we've played some Underworld. Enjoyed that. We enjoyed the Hexbane. I enjoyed the Hexbane. I think they're really nice. They're probably my favourite warband at the moment.
Yep.
There's a new warband coming. What they're called now, Roms of War Chosen or something like that. I've completely forgotten what they're called. Rom? Don't know. And they look quite interesting. I may actually have a copy of those already. And they look quite interesting. So and they're we should be getting a new Rivals deck maybe. I feel like that's on the schedule.
Yeah, I'm sure they mentioned that.
For a while. I haven't seen one for a while, but that might be interesting because I enjoyed the Rivals game we played. I'm not sure I chose the best deck for my warband, which is a bit of a problem. You do need to kind of pilot them a few times before you find out whether they actually work. But it's just something very very nice about the Rivals format. This game, you can play it with all the bells and whistles and champions and think about your deck, or you can just pick it up and play and enjoy it. And I think in this current financial world, and just generally, I think it's just easier, better that they have this good quality start to pick up version of the game.
Yeah, I think
really
for me,
like.
Rivals works so well because you could play that Rivals deck with one of your warbands or with a warband, and I can play just the warband deck with somebody else, and then we could just as easily swap. You could then go, actually, I'm going to play this
Yeah.
warband again, but I'm going to use their deck, and you can play
Yeah.
with the Rivals deck with the warband you brought, and just don't play with their cards, and it's much easier to do all that kind of stuff. And it does feel to me like the Underworld's rules have got to a point now where they're there now. I don't think there's very much that I would change in the rules apart from maybe change crits to be exploding crits. I think I prefer that mechanic.
Yeah.
But other than
Yeah,
that,
I agree. I mean, they will keep tinkering with them, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything that I dislike at the moment. We probably haven't played enough though.
possibly not. But we haven't played. We haven't played of all the games we've played that's been in Rivals and been in Harrow Deep or Nether Maze. We've enjoyed them all. I don't think we've had one yet where we've gone, oh god, that was terrible. And we've had plenty of games like that when we were playing in Championship. Partly because,
Championship really.
And that's partly because we probably built terrible decks, but that's half the problem. Is if you don't have the time to build the deck and constant iterations of playing with it to hone it, that's what's going to happen if you're.
But also, we never did that, did we? We were always trying to build something new and interesting. The same deck. That's what I played last week. So I enjoyed the Hex page, and I'm going to play some more Underworld in the coming weeks. So that's exciting. Well, I think otherwise, game-wise, I've been playing loads of board games with my kids, which has been really nice. And you did too, because you borrowed some. So you played Cascadia, didn't you, with the fact, and which we've got a video for. You can go and find on our channel. We played, which won this with Vijara, and was it's very good. I really enjoyed it. I've been playing lots of Seven Wonders with my children. My oldest and my youngest are obsessed with Seven Wonders. Having played Seven Wonders Architecture, I lent to you while I was away. We kind of then got a bit not fed up with it, but my older one wanted a bit more tactical choice, and I found a cheap copy in game. So I bought it, and we played Took a Holiday, and they love it. I played so many games of it. It's a really good game. If you haven't played Seven Wonders, definitely check it out.
That's the one that we played that time with our board gaming group, wasn't it? Seven Wonders.
Yeah, we played it a couple of times with them. Yeah. And then I've been playing a couple of other games by the same guy who designed that. Been playing Takenoko and Tokaido, which are kind of Japanese themed games, which also very enjoyable.
I was just going to mention as well, we're talking about the Underworld stuff, that we streamed that game with Hexbane versus the Crimson Court. That's going to be coming out in a no fuss, all action format, which I've been working on, which is going to be a 20-minute video, non-stop action, all of the jabber taken out. Maybe people enjoy that, I don't know, but that'll be up in the next few days, so do keep your eyes out for that one if you're interested in a much shorter format version of the game.
It's just Pete. I think it's his first move to try and get rid of me. I was playing, but I didn't be talking. So no hilarious puns and things.
Yeah, none of that in there. I feel like, there's a certain group of people that aren't interested in our punnage and they just want the action, the quick, short.
Punnage. Interested in our punnage. I don't understand what they're talking about.
That's what the live aspect's for, so they can get it all in all its glory live, or they can watch the little summarised version afterwards if they want the diet version. Diet agents.
So, in future episodes, as we said, we've got some Underworld coming. We've got some Bladeborn coming up, and Into the Dark is coming out. So I don't know whether that counts as what's coming up exactly, but the Kill Team one, I'm intrigued to see how that's all going to mesh together with the boarding the Space Hulk type thing. That is for me what I've always wanted from my 40k. Dark tunnels and boarding ships. That's no. I never really wanted the big. I never wanted Warhammer with guns, if you know what I mean. Because that's effectively what 40k came out was. Never wanted that, but the Space Hulk aesthetic theme is much more exciting to me. So I am, despite myself, I am intrigued by that. Possibly more interesting for some people. Anyway, I've been talking to the guys at Aries Games, I think it is. That's terribly forgotten better. But the people who make the War of the Ring game, they've got a War of the Ring card game coming out, which they previewed at. I think they previewed it at the UKGE, and they certainly previewed it at Gen Con, neither of which I was at. But anyway, they're going to send us a what they call it, a prototype copy, a pre-production copy for us to play and make videos with.
Scrawled on the back of cereal box packaging and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that and hoping that's really good. Hopefully we can get behind that game and play it and what have you. Fingers crossed. Really looking forward to that. I know Jason plays. That's the game that Jason plays, the big version of every Boxing Day, about patrons. So I'm hoping. I know obviously the card game is going to be much shorter than that because that's been long hours. But I'm really looking forward to that. I've also been talking to Corvus Belli, who isn't a Space Marine commander. He's it's the company that makes Infinity and other Stay. I think they've stopped making that now, but they're bringing out Warcrow, their whole new Warcrow system, which is going to be like a fantasy Infinity. But they're starting with Warcrow Adventures, which is a fantasy dungeon crawler, and we're on the list to have a look at that ahead of the Kickstarter, which is in October.
Cool.
So we're going to have a look at that. And none of those things have arrived yet, so I don't know when or where we'll be doing it. Certainly that won't be anything we do on Warcraft will be is embargo to. So I'm in there, but we might be doing that in secret, which is very exciting.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. This kind of, I know we keep talking about, coming to all the new shiny stuff. That's the proper new shiny. I'm quite excited about that.
I mean, that's a level of new shiny problems that not a lot of people get. That's definitely a first world problem, new shiny thing. Having come to us, but yeah, I'm still I'm okay with that. Yeah. It's just trying to find that game.
So that's it. That's what's coming up.
Cool. And this week we're going to play Bladeborn on Thursday, and we've got some other stuff we need to record after that behind the scenes to release in some weekend's time. And then next week we might be doing it on the Wednesday rather than the Thursday, depending how things go.
Oh yes, because yours. I haven't checked, but I'm sure it's mine free. You're working. I think you need to tell your work. You can't do things on a Thursday.
Yeah.
I've nothing to do on a Tuesday.
I know.
On a Thursday. Outrageous.
I told the managing director, and he sort of said, "Who are you again?" So I left the ring quickly.
Okay. Do you know what I'm saying? I've got 6,000 views, 6,000 subscribers,
It's quite funny because as people leave my company that I want to keep in touch with, I sort of just chat to them, and that's when I tell them that I have a YouTube channel. Nobody at the company I work at knows I have a YouTube channel until they leave, and then I can tell them. So no, I'm not telling people this before. Mr. Morph says that Blitz Bowl we could play if we wrap up Bladeborn with some spare time. I mean, you've seen what we're like when we play games, Morph. It takes hours, so it's unlikely, but we will definitely put those back into the rotation as games to play, because we're also hoping every other Tuesday we're going to meet up to play some games, simpler board gamey type things.
Well, we've successfully failed to do that due to spectacularly failed to do that.
We
due
don't.
To illness. We try to do it when I was ill.
Yeah.
Maybe we should not do that.
Yeah, let's double bluff it. We're definitely not ever going to meet up again on Tuesday, and then quickly sprint around to the other person's house.
Yeah, that's what we and my wife are thinking of doing in New York. Every time we decide to go to New York, disaster. Right, so the first year we were going to go, she broke her arm. The second year we were going to go, COVID struck. So we're like, we're not going to New York anymore.
We don't want to go.
Don't do anything else. We don't want to go to New York. New York sucks.
New York's rubbish. No one likes New York. You'll go to New York, you'll get there, and then there'll actually be the bloody battle for New York will kick off. You're sitting there, you're sitting there looking at the window, I think I can see the Hulk. Yes, he's definitely smashing something.
Yeah, and that's the American segue you've done for me there, Pete, because the Nova event is next week, isn't it? That's GW's the only bit of news really on the GW front. They're going to be releasing their announcement of new stuff at Nova. So that there's the Warhammer Underworld logos on the piece of paper, and it's a slightly new piece of paper.
Slightly different.
But they've changed the logo a little bit, so don't know what that means. But yeah, there's various bits of things going to be now. I think that's next Wednesday. That might be when we're meeting. Well, that might be interesting. We could do a discursive video.
This would be where it happens at like 1 in the morning or something like that.
Oh, it might be.
Yeah.
It might be. We won't be doing a discursive video about that.
Yeah, 1 a.m. GMT.
Okay, cool. Well, you can stay up late, can't you? You think we're going to work late. That's actually my son. My son has to go to his sixth form for the first time on that day.
Ooh.
And it's GCSE results week this week. So on Thursday, it'll be we'll get to GCSEs. Excited.
I did notice in the video for Nova though that it only flashes up the AOS, the 40k, and the Horus Heresy logos. It doesn't flash up the Underworlds one.
Okay.
They're like, yeah, not really. And I have to say, I know we mentioned the Goliath model earlier and that it looks god awful. I just need to continually express my disappointment with GW's squats. I'm going to use air brackets for people listening on the podcast. The squats, the Votan or whatever they're called, they're bloody awful. I just think every time they release another thing, it's just like another kick in the crotch. Every time I look at like you had so many things you could have done, and that's what you've come up with. God awful.
One of them, anything is, they just remind me of the Vogon from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I mean, they don't look like them, but Votan. Every time I hear the word Votan, I always think of Vogon. So I immediately start reciting bad poetry. So that's just me. That's just me, but there it is.
Until your stomach.
But yeah, there's not much GW news. Sorry?
I was going to say too, is it your stomach jumps up into your throat and strangles you to death? Whatever it is.
Yes, that's the one. There was some quite big D&D news, by the way. I know you don't really follow D&D in the same way. I was on holiday with Knox Stew. Knox Stew's quite big into his D&D.
Yeah.
So he was telling me all about the new D&D announcement. So I don't know whether you're interested, Pete. I'm going to tell you anyway.
Which is, I just need to interject very briefly, which is ironic considering this is the man who, whenever we sat down to play a session of D&D, would always say, "What are we doing again?
What system?
What dice do I need?"
Well, he's pretty now. He's like full channels reading about D&D. He consumes vast amounts of D&D content.
Oh, okay.
And he he's ever GM to go, but he's still, he's big into his D&D now. So they've announced that they're basically time for a new edition, but they're not calling it a new edition. They're calling it one D&D. And it's basically now there is only one D&D. There's not going to be like additions to D&D anymore. It's just this new one D&D, which is quite nice.
Okay.
Everything, and it's kind of backwards compatible. So everything that's already out for people will work with this new edition, and they're going to be able to, a lot of it's going to be play testable. So they've started off with the character creation stuff, and it's all going to play testing, and you can submit details of it, and that kind of what you think of it and what you like, which is quite cool. And they've mixed things up a little bit. I haven't done a lot of research, but they've mixed things up a little bit, so they're moving towards this kind of background stuff, so that you're not defining your race, doesn't define what you can and can't do, and there's no penalties for being. Quite interesting. I try to think of ways to phrase it. It's basically there are no penalties for racial stereotypes. That kind of explains why the system's outdated.
Yeah.
Because racial stereotypes are a bad thing. So basically now everything that's to do with your character is all to do in your background. So if you've got a reason why your orc is a wizard, they don't take the minus whatever it was penalty on intelligence or that kind of thing.
I'm sure loads of people are up in arms about that.
Oh, well, I will possibly touch on what we're going to talk about tonight later.
True.
But it has caused a bit of people still. But in Hobbyland, nobody's ever. There's always a contingent of people who aren't happy.
Yeah.
They hate 5th edition anyway. I would never play it because their own homebrew version of First edition is much better than 5th edition. So why would they play it?
Yeah.
Well, that's fine. Go fuck off and play that then.
It's also even more stupid to get angry about things like that, because in D&D, I mean, I know it's all made up anyway, but it's especially doubly all made up in that, because you're making up your character and their backstory and all that kind of stuff. It's all definitely made up. So you can't tell someone they're making stuff up wrong.
it's wokery again, isn't it?
Yeah.
Basically, Wizards of the Coast have made their game more accessible and more identifiable for many more different types of people other than bearded ones with big bellies. No offense. And they and so they don't like it because it was their safe space because there aren't very many spaces for white men. And so
There's a
they
shrinking.
don't like
It's a shrinking area.
other people have been to the party. And they're just the same old thing that they all go on about how Wizards of the Coast could go bankrupt, even though D&D is more popular and played by more people and far more acceptable than it ever has been in its entire history. And it's 50 years old now.
But they'll go bankrupt now. Now they've done this. Like,
well, exactly.
I don't think they will.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
You know, their market share and you know, potential audience used to be like 1%. The people who were like us, strange enough, white men, nerdy, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And now suddenly their market potential is like 100%. It's like I don't think they're going to lose money on this.
No, I don't think so. And they've got quite a cool. They've announced quite a cool new digital environment to play in.
Cool.
So at the moment, I hadn't realised this. I hadn't realised that they had looking to do a Roll20 that's all separate. So you get the modules in it, but it was all separate. But now they're in their own environment, which is actually powered by the Unreal Engine, and looks really cool. I mean, it's one of those things. They're really positive about it, but Games Workshop are really positive about their new things too, and sometimes they suck out. So we'll have to see what happens. But it does look pretty cool. This new digital environment. They feel like we've talked about this before, but GW don't really seem to embrace technology and what technology can do to enhance the games.
No.
Whereas you know, I mean, considering how traditional D&D really was, it's just you can do it with some dice, a piece of paper, and a pencil. You know, it really now they're really embracing all the different apps and ways of making your experience better, which is really cool.
The website that we used to build our characters on when we played our last adventure several years ago now, that was amazing. That website, it had everything on it. It did it all for you. You didn't have to remember anything. It just gave it all to you. So it didn't make it worse because it was all on a screen. It just gave you everything you needed.
D&D Beyond, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Now they all out there, and all that. Everything will be better integrated, and you know, it's what a time to be alive and play D&D. Sadly, we don't do it anymore. But you know, I really would if I had the time, and Becky said I'd love to get back into it again. Because we left our group at just the wrong time. It was just as they went online because of COVID, we left.
Yeah.
Never mind. They've got other people in there.
There was too many. There was about 7 of us, wasn't there? And it just became a nightmare to try and organise any kind of events. And I do remember a little while ago, one of my son's friends at school, he's mad into D&D, and I said to them, you know what, I'll do your D&D adventure. I'll DM it, and I'll create you some characters. And one of them was an elf ranger, and the other one was a dwarf fighter. You know, very, very, very my first D&D adventure, typical, because they got to pick and I built them for them, and it was like they went to a town, and like, okay, you go into the town and you find a trader, and he wants to buy, you know, he's got these things for sale, and they're like, we'll kill him and take it. Like, you don't just go into a town and kill him and take it. You said I could do anything. Fine. Right, let's do. All right, fine. Let's do it. I think they end up having to run.
Oh, he's level 20.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, he's level 20. Sorry about that.
So it's just, yeah, it was good fun though.
Oh, just don't take stuff.
It was good fun. It was good fun.
Excellent. My son refused to play with me because whatever he tried to do didn't work, and then he's like, "I'm not playing with you anymore because it's stupid." Because I had this really good idea and you didn't know it.
It's like, yeah, but you wanted to do a backflip off the chandelier whilst throwing.
Yeah, it was that kind of, yeah. He was unlucky. He was unlucky actually. He wanted to climb up onto the tent, but the tent collapsed. It was unlucky. It was a good idea.
I mean, tents are quite hard to climb up.
Yeah, it was a market stall.
Oh, okay.
Thing. But he was a bit unlucky, but you know, he's never role played again. But actually, he's much more of a war gamer than a role play. I think we're okay with it.
Just a bit earlier about how we were talking about D&D changing the racial benefits and stuff like that, and gatekeeping, and Morford build a fucking bridge, gatekeeping arse hats, and I'm kind of okay with not building a bridge. They can all stay on their tiny little island over there, and the rest of us can have a much better time on the mainland without that bridge connecting us to them at all.
Yeah.
I'm okay
Plus,
with
if they build a bridge, why don't they just live under it?
it. Yeah.
Oh, the original red D&D box. Yes. I just love a bit of that. Funny enough, I think it's the Marlowe moment. It actually tied in with the Marlowe moment.
Oh, do we have a Marlowe moment? Should I play
We have
a
a
Marlowe
Marlowe
moment? Here we go then. Marlowe moment time.
Comments, it's quite the D&D red box.
Here you go. Hold on. Marlowe moment. There we go. Marlowe moments. There we go.
I don't know when they're happening, so
No. You have to sit until I go and go.
Yeah. The Marlowe question this week is, which game or games do you regret buying?
Oh.
Okay, and I was thinking about this question, and I was wondering whether to say this. I wasn't quite sure. When I first got into role playing, my friend already had the D&D red box, so there was no point in playing that. And my dad, it's quite interesting. My dad brought me home a book which belonged to one of his colleagues. It's called Dicing with Dragons, and it was written by Ian Livingstone. And it had basically a catalogue of not all of them, but loads of role playing things. Quite funny. My dad was an actuary, and I never realised that they were, all these colleagues were total geeks as well. I didn't realise that. Where I was. Anyway, I read this book from cover to cover, and I loved it. But I picked Traveller as my D&D thing of choice because it was set in space, and my God, it was a ridiculous system. But I picked it and I bought it and played it and rolled up characters, and characters actually die during character creation, which is quite entertaining. My whole role-playing life might have been different had I not bought Traveller. I wouldn't say that I didn't enjoy it, but maybe that would be the thing that I wouldn't have bought. But then my entire may have been different had I not bought it. Hard to say. More recently, I have to say I'm quite disappointed. You've got it behind you. I'm quite disappointed that I bought Aeronautica.
I can't decide with Aeronautica. It feels like it should be a great little game. I think somebody mentioned in our chat way back up near the start that they should tie Aeronautica in with Titanicus, Adeptus Titanicus, and I think that would make it much more interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't regret it because it's not a good game. I just regret it because we bought it and we haven't played it. and it's just and the planes. I like painting a couple of the planes, and then I got bored. Yeah, and we have got too many boxes of it.
We've got 3 boxes now,
so,
I think.
I think so. So yeah, so that's that. I regret in my desperation to find a new game that I wanted to play. I regret just have gone to the Aeronautica bandwagon.
I'm not sure what out there I regret buying. Aeronautica is probably one of them because it's exactly the same reason that we just don't play it. But do I regret buying it or do I just regret not playing it? I'm not 100% sure which one it is. It's hard.
I don't regret. Yeah,
it's hard.
I regret my own wrong word. My own convincing myself I was going to play it. That's really right.
I'm trying to think of things I do regret buying. I think actually there's one that's out of shot on your camera, but it's up on the top left shelf behind you, which was Shadow War Armageddon. Do you remember that? Because we bought 3 boxes of that to get all the terrain and stuff. We're like, I'll have loads of terrain that we built up and all that kind of stuff. And it's mostly all still sitting in boxes, unpainted and grey. I do regret buying that.
More so, you didn't end up liking Adeptus Titanicus. I thought you guys played it that one and really liked it. I really enjoyed the games we played with John, and I would love to. If John wanted to come back and play it again, I would happily do that. But I regret then going and buying sort of several boxes and getting overexcited, and then I haven't got headspace really to properly play it, and that's why I regret it. I regret my own stupidity at thinking I was going to get into this game.
I think that's our life with a lot of things like Kill Team, 40k.
Yeah, we do it a lot with GW games, and we should learn not to.
Although, I guess the only thing we have to counter that argument is we don't buy a lot of them. We get given them.
Well, that's true. That is true.
Like, if we'd have bought, like, is it, what was it, Thingy City? Shadow City? Was it Shadow City, was it? Curse City. I'd be really angry if I'd bought Curse City, if I'd have purchased that, because, and the same with Black Light. Is it Black, not Black Library? Blackstone Fortress. Yeah.
That was a bit better. That at least had some support and what have you, but yeah, those big games, they're not, those Warhammer Quest games, they don't seem to be, I would never buy one now.
Yeah.
They just don't, I mean, I don't think the rules are that good, but they just don't seem to have, they don't care about them enough after the fact. Yeah. Was Moore has just mentioned, funny enough, River Horse, Highlander and Labyrinth, both unadulterated shite. Really interesting you say that. I've never played either.
No,
but we had an email out of the blue, I think, or maybe I did, one of us. It was just the agent box. From Riverhawks, asking if we'd like to try out their new game. But so I replied, and then they came back and said, "Thanks, everybody." Replied, "We'll be back in touch soon." I don't know what's happening there, so we'll be interested to see whether it's unadulterated shite or not. But I hadn't heard of them up until that point.
I only knew about him because I was watching something else the other day, and then I found out that because it's got Alessio Cavatore, and he was responsible for Mordheim, which is like one of GW's mythical best games ever. But I'm pretty sure if they re-released it again now, they'd bugger it up just as much as they buggered a lot of other stuff up because of reasons.
I don't think they'll ever make a Mordheim again. That's not what they're about. What I would really like them to do is to sell it off to somebody and let them redo it, or even do the miniatures, but then just sell out, farm out the game design to a company who does that sort of thing. They don't make those. Mordheim doesn't age well. That's interesting. I mean, I haven't played it, so I don't know. But that kind of campaign stuff is not what they're about anymore. But I think there's always a difficult challenge between dungeon crawler type thing or miniature based role playing game. There's always a play. I invariably feel like end up being I was going to play. I might not just play D&D. That's my own personal thing.
Yeah. I think I'm still trying to think of other games that I regret buying. I don't think there is many that I regret buying. I think there's just some I think I regret us trying to get so into without really thinking about it too much in advance. Like Kill Team, I think was a big one. I think that was one of the bigger ones where we really thought we were going to get into that big time, and we just couldn't. It wasn't that we didn't want to in the end. It was actually we played it and then went, actually I don't really like this.
We didn't enjoy that at all.
And in Area Nautica, it's less that we don't enjoy the games when we play them. It's more like painting the models. I almost find painting the little planes after you've painted one or two of them a bit tedious.
Yeah, that's the problem I had.
And the games themselves are nice and simple, but yeah.
Yeah, Star Wars, we're playing a lot of Kill Team and Warcry. I'm hoping that we might find some love in Kill Team going forward, but we'll see. So yes, it is Nolly more. Is to answer your question, Nolly the new RH River Horse game. It looks okay, but not really his sort of game. I thought it looked interesting, and it looked like a slightly more family game, which Pete and I kind of want to promote a little bit on the channel too. So I thought, well, yeah, well, I'll say we're interested, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, see if they send us something. If not, nothing lost really. Bruce Clones' hot take is that GW are great at world building but bloody awful at rules systems, especially when compared with modern board games. I think their rules writing, especially on their bigger games, is terrible. They have a very definite style, and I don't like it these days.
It's very antiquated.
Sorry?
So much new and interesting stuff. It's so very antiquated now.
Yeah.
There's so much new and interesting stuff going out about rules. I mean, you only need to look at the rules, and that's a different type of game. You only need to look at the rules of Undaunted, which, they could easily do something like that. In their games. They're not interested. They just want measure. They're not even that interested in alternative duration stuff, really. And it's D6 or D6.
I'd even argue that their world building isn't that great. A lot of it's very cliched stuff, and it's very hammy in a lot of places. But they can
Yeah,
do
it's better than it.
yeah, but they can do amazing visuals. They've got the art and they've got the
It's kind
models and stuff like that. And I yeah, I do think their rules for especially for the bigger games leave a lot to be desired. But then the smaller stuff, like the stuff we've talked about, the little fire and forget things they've done, they're much better. And I think it's because they don't
oh,
try to be very clever with it. I think they try and keep it simple, and that works.
yeah, and they have to be less all-encompassing. I don't know whether that's part of it. Like for the big games, and even their smaller games, they have to be for everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like Kill Team and Warcry, we talked about this before, but yeah, it came out and it was for nothing. It was for stuff, and it's like, and then it becomes too unwieldy.
And I get why they do it, because they've got loads of people out there that are like, I'd buy Warcry, but I only like collecting Skaven. And Warcry was like, it was all chaos.
Yeah.
Those 8 different chaos clans. So I only have Skaven. I'm not that interested. So I can see why they do it to get people who have Skaven to buy it, because then they go, I can use my Skaven. And I'm always moaning about GW making things that allow you to reuse your models, but it's getting that level right, I think.
Absolutely. So lore then, Pete.
Lore.
Yeah, we were talking about the lore, and they're good at lore. They're good at lore. You particularly wanted to talk about money because I was on holiday and not thinking about anything doing that. You wanted to talk about lore, and specifically
what is it good for?
Whether it's what is it good for? Yeah, or lore. I was thinking it was a very thing. Lore versus lore, LAW. Should the lore, LORE, be lore, LAW? I can't remember how you actually refer to it.
Fact or fiction?
Graphic. Or fiction, that would be. Fact or fiction, which I really like, is a really good question. So, take it away, I'm off.
Well, I think the idea of talking about this one came to me the other day because I was reading about how the new, I think it's called Wednesday or something, on Netflix, they're doing a new Addams Family. And they've cast Guzman, I think that's how you pronounce his surname, Guzman, as the patriarchal figure in the Addams Family, and loads of people have gone, but he's quite ugly, he's not a very good looking guy, and he's not very smooth, and you kind of associate Gomez with being this smooth Lothario-y kind of figure, and loads of people then came along and said, well, actually with a C and a K, that's not what he was originally. He was this sort of more slightly rotund, hunchbacky, slightly weird-looking bloke, and it's a more modern thing that he's now looks this other way, and people don't like him being ugly because they only want to romanticize good-looking people. They don't want to romanticize ugly people. So there was like 2 aspects to this, but I remember sitting there thinking, how many people who know about the Addams Family now would know where they started, and how much of that's important. Obviously, I don't think it's important if it's the actor they've picked or someone else, whether they're good looking or not. I think it's all down to how they act the role. But things like lore, especially in Games Workshop history, is something that is always hotly debated over and argued about and stuff like that. And people will tout not doing something because that's not what's in the lore. And you sit and think, it's made up, right? None of it's real.
None of it's real.
And that's maybe wonder, how important is it for those kind of things to remain untouched and canon, and does it matter?
And it's going to come to its head again, isn't it? And it always does in Star Wars and Marvel, but we've got the new Lord of the Rings series about to come out on Prime. Comes out, doesn't it, at the beginning of September. And there's people, I'm not going to watch it, it's just going to be shit, it's going to ruin the stories. Well, it might. But they are just stories at the end of the day. And, it's difficult with a much loved IP. If they carry on writing stories about it, but at the end of the day, if it's going to make money, they're going to do it. There's not much point in moaning about it. If you don't like it, don't watch it.
And it's Law is another thing that I thought about with the law is that often one of the big arguments is female space marines, and people point at the law and say you can't because it says that they couldn't have women because they're genetically inferior to men, and therefore that's why they couldn't have female space marines and blah blah, blah, and that's why you can't do it. It's like, yeah, but if you
just for that kind of bitterness.
Yeah, but also if you go
We
back,
can't have women, and neither can you.
but yeah, but then if you go back far enough, you can see that space marines originally, the artwork showed them in bars at the end of their shifts at work and stuff like that. So the original space marine law, they were nothing like what they're like now in the Astartes film, the animated Astartes series and all that kind of stuff. They were never like that when they first came around. A bit like the orcs originally in 40k, are nothing like they were now. So it's like, again, it's evolved, so it can keep evolving, but it seems like in very recent history, people have decided to plant a flag in the ground and say, no, this is what the law is now, and it can't evolve anymore. But it's like, it's been evolving for the last 20, 30, 40, 50
years.
Yeah,
you do evolve it all the time.
Yeah.
Cells. But there are just certain, the female space marines is always the one that comes up, like you say. I was a little bit disappointed, actually, that they kind of doubled down on that in the new Horus Heresy stuff. They very much shut that door. Which I think was a bit of a shame. I can maybe see why they don't really want to get dragged into a blame war over it. I think, but I don't know.
And it's I find it. You can nearly always bet that the people who are going to be most vocal against a change to the law are the people who don't like it becoming more inclusive. Nearly always the case.
Definitely.
I mean, there's even examples in like people banging on about like Deadpool and X-Men and stuff like that, and them going on about, oh, why can't they keep politics out of X-Men? Like, you remember why they came up with X-Men, right? And what that was literally all about? You stupid ape. Can you not see any of this? And I find it.
Or indeed Captain America.
Sorry.
Or indeed Captain America.
Yeah.
And
and it's bizarre that. And I don't think it's a good thing. I mean, I'm probably stating the obvious, like, you shouldn't kick puppies. I don't think it's a good thing that people hold on to law in whatever form it is, whether it's Star Wars, Star Trek, 40k, Marvel, any of that kind of stuff. It all changes all the time, and I think it should change all the time. It should become more inclusive, and it shouldn't ever remain the same, because it's just
it'd be really boring if it did.
Yeah.
Well, yes. I mean, I agree. I agree with you. It's just the thing. I think the thing I suppose you have to, at the end of the day. I mean, it's all of our discussions come down to this. The law and the changing of the law, etc., etc., is always purely to drive sales.
Yeah.
It isn't really. I mean, there's a billion versions of every X-Men story or every Marvel story because they need to sell new comics or now make new films.
Yeah. That's why they came up with all the alternate universe, the multiverse and stuff like that. It's like,
exactly.
Oh crap, if we kill Spider-Man in this one, we're done. Oh no, wait, there's another Spider-Man. There we go.
Yeah.
There's a whole Spider-Verse.
And GW, they change the law when it suits them because they want to sell new models. So they wanted to, the biggest change, I suppose, in recent memory is when they changed to Primaris Marine. And they just decided that they wanted to change their range up and reinvent it. And that's kind of all fine, really.
Possibly even bigger than that, and in still fairly recent history was when they killed off the old world.
Well, yeah.
Completely destroyed the whole old world. And I'll admit, at the time when they did it, I was quite pissed off with that.
Yeah, I mean, I was too. I suppose that's slightly different in the sense that they just drew a line. I mean, when you changed the law, they just drew a line under it.
Well, they added to it, didn't they? They did specifically write new content to, the ending of the old world, and then like you say, they drew a line under it. But they did add to it, and they didn't change it so much as they just ended it. But it's kind of a similar thing because up until they did that, the old world was always there, bubbling along, doing its thing.
Absolutely. Carl says Marvel and DC are so boring. They need new characters instead of following the same old one. Yeah, there's definitely some truth in that, rehashing the same story. And that's the fascinating thing about how we, as a as a race, humans seem to like stories we know and understand. And that might tie into why we don't like the lore staging. Because we will go and see remakes of films that weren't even necessarily good the first time. I mean, I'm not saying it's not a good film, but the Jumanji remake is a very successful film. But it has some elements of originality, but there was no reason for it to be a Jumanji film.
No.
Other than the fact that there was already the tie-in to people who already had an audience who would go and see it.
Yeah. But I feel that in some ways when they did that, it possibly alienated a group of people who, I mean, I was determined I was never going to watch it. As far as I was concerned, there was only one Jumanji film. It had Robin Williams in it, and I was going to die on that hill. So at the same time, whilst they try and, like you say, rehash these things, but reuse previous elements to go, oh, it's Jumanji again. You loved Jumanji the first time, go watch it again. And a lot of people go, yeah, I like Jumanji, I'm going to go watch that again. There was equally a large group of people that went, no, never, ever, ever, ever again.
Oh, never watching Jumanji again.
There's only one Jumanji. There's only one Aladdin film, that kind of thing. And I'm guilty of doing that, especially if it's got Robin Williams. It's like, no, there's no other Aladdin. There's only one genie. It's Robin Williams.
I think that's reasonable.
I think in that one, that is reasonable, actually. But, I know that
just as like to punch it like that.
I know that I do it, especially with, like, cartoons from when I was a kid. Like, when they redid Thundercats. I remember watching something about that. And I remember thinking, oh, God, why have you've ruined it? Absolutely ruined this nonsense. What have you done? And I did go back and find an old episode on YouTube and watch it and thought, God, this was terrible the first time. So
you could never go back and watch. You could never go back and watch old children's things.
yeah, just don't do it. Don't ever, ever, ever do it. But it's funny. I think there's an element there of security and safety that people don't like having taken away from them, and that's why they cling on to these things as they were, and they see that as a threat to their memory, their past, that kind of thing.
Yeah, British Star Wars, the absolute pinnacle of this problem. Fans just want the original trilogy over and over. I totally agree. And ironically, I suspect if they did make like a basically carbon copy, they would just say, but it's just the same as the other films. You haven't done anything.
Yeah.
And so I suspect they wouldn't be happy with that. But Star Wars is fascinating. I guess it is basically just big man babies moaning about stuff that they don't like, with people who don't look like them in their films. Which
I think
is
that's all of it, really, to be honest. And I'll even hold my hand. I think it's just people being man babies about all of them. I think. And I'll even acknowledge that with like the stuff where they redid the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and my son got into them when he was younger, and I remember going, "This is rubbish. This isn't the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles I grew up with, and therefore it's rubbish." But actually, if I were to look at it objectively and compare the two, it was better. It was better because it was, they've got better technology and
Scooby-Doo. Have you ever seen Scooby-Doo Mystery Inc?
I have, yeah.
With the story arcs and things.
Yeah.
That is just brilliant. Don't compare with Scooby-Doo. Because I remember Scooby-Doo, I loved Scooby-Doo. I remember watching an old one when we had kids. What's this? Oh my God.
Yeah.
This is really bad.
It's like not only is it's like not only is the animation terrible, but also the storyline's just quite bad as well, and all the rest of it. And then you watch the newer stuff, and there's a little bit that you want to say, no, the original's the best one, but there's another voice, and they're going, it's not though, is it? It's really not. And a lot of the time that's true, and maybe that's not the same with things like the new Star Wars films. But personally, I'm not a massive Star Wars buff. I didn't mind the final 3 films in the trilogy. I thought they were okay. They were just your standard space fighting, blow up star films kind of things. They didn't really bother me that much, but I know a lot of people were frothing at the mouth in anger at these things.
Idiots, though. Really. I mean, the third film was an abomination, but I wasn't frothing about it. It was just awful.
I think the storyline was terrible, because even I was sitting there going, hang about, he died. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure he died. That was kind of the whole idea is he died. They're like, oh no, he came back because of magic cloning. You're like, really? Is that all you've got?
Yeah, it's really bad.
Yeah, that was bad. But the rest of it and the effects and the general acting, the rest, it was fine. It was all right. I didn't think it was bad.
Yeah, that bit where aren't they riding horses along the spaceship? That bit was pretty.
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with that.
it's like this is all right as far as these kind of films go, and most films these days that come out, they're okay.
There you go, Carl's off.
Bye, Carl. Thanks for joining us.
For joining in. Yeah. Sure, what I was going to say. My mind got blank. File leaving it completely taken out my brain.
Well, I'll start talking.
He's taking my brain.
I'll keep talking. I'm sure it'll come back to you in a moment then. But
yeah, it probably will.
I just remember thinking, with all these things, with the lore and stuff like that, there's a collective pop culture community point where they sort of say, these are the facts now, and that's where we're at, and they can't change. But then someone else comes along and goes, well, wouldn't it be nice if we had female space marines or a black Captain America or whatever it is, you know, whatever that thing is. Wouldn't it be nice if we redid Jumanji but we had the Rock in it or whatever? And everyone like screams, like you say, they scream no, but actually it's like, but why not? What difference does it make to anybody really? And I think the main thing is it just takes away people's, whether it's childhoods, their younger their golden memories of a different system. It's like, we're not getting rid of that, we're just adding something else on for new people.
It's funny, isn't it? Because I thought, this is tangential but related, I thought something about Thor Ragnarok recently, which I think is probably my favourite of all the Marvel films. And I could not see, but I could see why you might not think it's a brilliant film, but I could not see why you could hate it. But I discovered there's this whole subset of people who hate it, that it's, it's not normal, it's ghosting. It doesn't make sense. But he just, and I found so there were just some people who just want to hate stuff.
Yeah.
And particularly bizarrely want to hate stuff that's about the thing that they really like. Yeah. And I guess we're guilty of that a little bit. I don't say we want to hate stuff, but we do sometimes get a bit down on GW, and we do in theory like GW. So I guess we're not completely free of that. And that's not law related, but there is definitely, like we've joked about it before, that there's definitely part of the hobby, or for a lot of people, the hobby of Games Workshop is
buying boxes and hating GW.
It's having unopened boxes on the shelf and worrying about GW. It's all part of the hobby. Ragnarok is awesome. The new one, not so much. I'll let you say, I haven't seen it yet. I've been waiting to watch it on the old Disney Plus because I didn't feel like I needed to go to the cinema more than once this year. So it's a shame that's not so good.
That's annoying. There was a film, I remember reading on Reddit the other day where there was a film. Oh, it's Hook. Hook. Came out 93, I think it was, something like that. I was 13 when I got a VHS copy of it, and I watched it to death, and I loved Hook. I thought the scenes with Bob Hoskins and I can't remember his name, the guy who plays Hook. Sorry?
Dustin Hoffman.
Yes, Dustin Hoffman. I thought those scenes were fantastic, and I read up on it afterwards about how, they were trying to play like these two aging queens kind of thing, and that was what they were channeling, and Spielberg didn't want them to do that when he was recording it, but afterwards it all just kind of worked. But there's like this whole subgroup of people who absolutely hated the film, and I remember thinking, what's there to hate about it? It's just a good old-fashioned feel-good film, it's about, and they hated it for various reasons, whether it wasn't true to the Peter Pan lore originally, all that kind of stuff. It's like, who cares, mate? It's just a laugh. It's just good fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I am just going to say, you just reminded me of something. Disney's Winnie the Pooh. An abomination.
But I'll agree with that because it's different. I'll agree with that for a different reason though, because they did it purely because it was to make money. They didn't do it because they felt it improved anything. It was purely because we can make more money. We can make it look more Disneyfied, and we can sell this to people. But a lot of these other things, they're just done because they're done by fans or people who enjoy it and want to add to it. But that was Disney being evil.
Are they? Interesting. That's an interesting question. You're right about Winnie the Pooh. Sorry?
I think a lot of them are, at least, anyway. Morph says that he barely remembers Hook, but he remembers it being funny. He hasn't seen it since it was released on VHS. Watch it with your kids again. I watched it with my kids, and I was a tear in my ear at some point when I watched it.
We've watched it. That's an interesting observation, but I'm not sure I agree with it. I think a lot of the stuff that they write, I mean, they have to get people who like the source material, obviously, otherwise it wouldn't work. But I think it is for money.
Yeah, but I think a lot of the time there's money involved. But I think a lot of the time the people involved have a genuine love of the thing, like the people who made the Ragnarok films, they had a genuine love for Marvel and stuff like that. And
the guy who wrote Rian Johnson, who is the most pilloried director of the Star Wars films, I don't think he definitely liked Star Wars. He just wanted to take it in a different direction.
Yeah, and I don't begrudge that, but I think the Disney one, Winnie the Pooh, was literally just a case of we're just gonna make a bunch of money out of this one. I don't think there was much more involved there. I remember going to Vegas several years ago, and I was sitting at a blackjack table with several of our friends, and we said to the dealer, we're from England, and she was like, do you guys have Winnie the Pooh over there? Like, we fucking invented it, love. Piss off. Give us that shit.
Yeah, but of course, when it was first made, I mean, obviously they did make it money, but it was decades ago now. So I don't know. The money juggernaut wasn't quite the same. I didn't really want to talk about Winnie the Pooh this evening. I don't quite know how that's happened.
But it is a change in the lore. It is a change in things that were, and now for many people, the only Winnie the Pooh they know is the Disney Winnie the Pooh. And if you show them some of the original artwork and stuff, they'll be like, "What the hell is this? What is this god awful nonsense?" You'll be like,
and that's an interesting thing. Sorry.
No, that's it. That's just what.
Okay, well, that's a whole kind of new culture thing, isn't it? And the fact that actually, and I suppose it goes almost ties back into what you were saying at the beginning, because people's perception of Gomez Adams is that he doesn't look like Raul Julia.
Yeah.
But it's based on written drawing, books, and I guess that's kind of goes almost the same almost. With the Winnie the Pooh now, a lot of people don't realise that he was a book. Before the book is much more subtle, and I suspect the cartoon. I don't know anything about apparently, but I suspect the humour is not more subtle than the written words of different things. I haven't ever read. I don't think. Might not quite be true, but I don't think I've ever read a single Marvel comic.
I've definitely read some, but
I've read DC ones, but I don't think I've ever read a single Marvel one. I might have read the odd pamphlet, but never a whole series.
I remember reading a spat on Twitter about She-Hulk and stuff like that, because She-Hulk's one of the first Marvel characters to break the fourth wall, and everyone always attributes that to Deadpool, and always goes on about how it was all Deadpool and that he's the funny character. It's like, actually, a lot of She-Hulk's original stuff was much earlier than that, and she did it first.
Yeah, I didn't know that, because I have watched the first episode of the new series.
I've not watched that
break
yet.
The fourth wall.
I do want to watch
I
it.
hadn't realised that she actually did it first in the comics.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I think there's a comic of her holding a comic of her or something like that. And that was like one of the first things. But yeah, I want to watch that actually. I saw the adverts for that, and that was something I genuinely was really interested in watching.
Okay, well, I won't spoil it. I have watched the first episode.
But she dies.
I mean, I have to say, more since Rogue One and Mando have been more he's been. I have definitely enjoyed that aspect, and I think sometimes the slightly longer form but shorter episode things for both Marvel and Star Wars gives them better opportunities to tell more interesting stories than trying to get it all wrapped up in a couple of hours.
I guess
normally has
another benefit
explosion.
I guess another benefit with those kind of things is they can do stuff without it affecting the entire universe of Star Wars, the whole timeline of Star Wars. It doesn't affect the overall arcing, the oh god, what's his name? Skywalker sort of lineage
Well,
storyline, all that kind of thing.
yeah, but they run the risk because when they do things like Obi-Wan, they run the risk of apparently he's in Mando as well.
Yeah.
It was interesting, but where they're going to go with it, and that's something that they have almost. It's almost the problem with the Marvel universe. There is a problem, is that you end up watching it purely to see how they've evolved the lore.
Yeah.
And you almost the stories to the actual work. Certainly find this with the movies. They're almost incidental, and what you find yourself going for is to find out where it fits in with everything else, and where the overreaching story arc is going to go.
Yeah.
Certainly, there's a few films that I've found about. The only reason I've gone to see this, the only reason I'm watching this, is to see what happens in the end of the credit scene. That ties into everything else.
And some of them, like Multiverse of Madness, isn't actually going to completely make sense unless you've watched previous films. Like, unless you've watched the whole WandaVision thing, that whole bit's going to be a bit confusing as to, like, well, what are they doing to her kids? I don't understand what's going on here. So there's that aspect to it as well.
So you kind of have to buy into everything. You almost can't miss any of it now, which is frustrating and incredibly clever at the same time.
Or even the end, the post-credit scenes. You've got to watch them because they're going to set up the next big thing as well. And so, so I'm trying to get a moth out of my room.
It's very cleverly constructed. I have to take my hat off to Kevin Feige. Is it very cleverly constructed and amazing, and it really shows where DC haven't done that, and their films are basically garbage. But they haven't got an overreaching.
Yeah, they haven't got that arc that connects them all.
Of where they're going.
And it has its upsides and downsides because, like, if you watch I can't remember what the two-parter film was. It was Infinity Wars and Endgame. You start Infinity Wars and there's like, why is Thor there? Why is Loki there? And why is Hulk there? I don't get that because if you haven't watched Ragnarok beforehand, you don't know how they all got to that position first.
Sorry. So is it F-I-G as in... That's F-I-G, not F-I-G. Sorry, I'm not being obtuse, Morph. I'm just... that's Kevin...
I did like one thing that oh god, what was there? Stan Lee did a thing online where he said he hates when people ask him who would win a fight between X and Y, and he said the reason why I hate that question is because it's whoever the writer wants to win. It's like it's whoever wins in his story, that's who's going to win it. It doesn't matter if it's the Hulk versus Peter Parker. If the writer wants Peter Parker to win, if it's a Spider-Man comic, Spider-Man's going to beat the Hulk. That's just how it's going to work because that's how this all works. It's like if the inventor, the creator of all this is going to do that, is going to say that, what right does anybody else have to say you can't do X or you can't do Y?
I remember reading a story about something from Star Trek. Somebody asked a question about why do because they're in space, how come all the spaceships always appear at the same way up, and not at different angles to each other? And the guy, the creator, it might have been Gene Roddenberry, I can't remember, but the creator basically said, they've all got some sort of quantum whatever it compensates on them, which means that they all they line up when they meet. And the bloke, thinking he was very clever, said, "Oh well, and how did that work then?" And he said, "Very nicely, thank you."
Brilliant. I think I remember a similar thing where someone sort of said to him, "How come all of the aliens they meet are like humanoids?" And they basically said, "Have you tried making a costume with like 3 heads?"
Yeah.
It's like, we know, we're not stupid. We're watching this too. We know that it's a bit sus that all the aliens have 2 eyes and a nose and a mouth and maybe a slightly wobbly forehead. We understand. But if you can come up with a better way of making these aliens up, with a £5 budget, do tell us. And I think that was the other aspect actually to lore and stuff like that, is that people see that kind of stuff and they take it as that is rote, that is how it is, it can't be different. But at the same time, the creators of it, if 10 minutes later they decide actually ending the old world was a stupid idea, let's bring the old world back and AOS doesn't exist anymore, they don't care, they'll do whatever they feel is right or works. They'll change stuff, but the fans.
Yeah, I mean, I think interestingly, I thought you were going to say something else then. I think that the change from, I know obviously they needed to change, but the change from AOS, from the old world to the mortal realms, I think is actually driven by a change in the technology. So what you were talking about with the aliens thing, you know, they were very much limited, they didn't have CGI, they were very much limited by what they could physically build costume-wise. The change from AOS or into AOS was probably driven by the fact that they had much better plastic technology and could suddenly make much bigger, more intricate monsters. So the rank and file game is kind of not made redundant, but having the brilliant plastic technology is rendered pointless almost by having a big rank and file game, because you don't, you know, no point being able to do amazing molds when all your game only relies on having 20 models that look basically the same.
Yeah, that's definitely.
So I think they kind of clearly could see that they could make superior and more exciting and innovative monster models with the new system, maybe.
I think that was probably an aspect to it. Yeah, I mean, they knew that the old way was dying. People didn't want to have to spend £100 just to get a couple of units to be able to play a very basic game. They knew they could do it better, and I think, you know, they decided, yeah, this is going to be the best way forward, so they went with it. But people then take that as gospel truth, and they can't change. But if the company then turned around and said, like GW have done, you know, they're starting to talk about doing this old world expansion thing via Forge World or whatever. It's like, you know, they're not above just saying, actually, now we'll just bring this back, we'll just change that, we'll just modify this. But other people, they're like, no, you can't do it, until the big company says, yeah, you can.
Yeah, we're doing it anyway. What's fascinating as well with the Mortal Realms is that they've given themselves eons to play with and massive areas, so almost anything can happen. So there could be a little enclave where they still think the Empire exists.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There could be anything, and it's the same in the 40k universe. The 40k universe is massive, and so they can literally do what they want if they want to, and they can just say, well, this is the thing here. And that's kind of what they did for the Wrath and Glory game with Typical 7. They basically effectively a pocket universe where it's all cut off, and so they can do what they like in there.
Yeah.
And there isn't really any reason why female Space Marines couldn't pop up in such a place. There's
a really great Hammer and Bolter episode on Warhammer Plus, actually, about a Necron that captures a moment in time, and he keeps engineering this scenario that keeps playing out, and he keeps going in to watch it, and he sort of tells the Chaos Warrior in there about how the fact that he's trapped in this moment, and he keeps, you know, making very subtle but very similar decisions, and it changes the overall thing, and then at the end of the process it gets reset, and basically he's trapped in this moment forever, reliving this moment, and how the Necron's enjoying watching it because he collects these moments and watches them over and over, like reruns on TV and stuff. And it's a bit like that, you know. You can just easily have this pocket universe, which, you know, the Emperor didn't die in. You know, Horus didn't turn evil, and anything could happen basically. But if you suggest it, that's.
Yeah, we really wanted to play with everyone. They could just make the Emperor a woman.
Fantastic. Because they always go on about how the Emperor, what you see is not what he is, because he has this ability to project his, you know, a different version of himself. Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
And actually, yeah, they literally were all her children.
Brilliant. Love it. And actually, when they take the guys off, they realise it's one of, you know, it's Mrs. Brown's boys.
I was going to say it was the old man watching for it. He was the janitor of the fairground.
The one thing I always remember reading when they say about the Scooby-Doo films is they always taught us that underneath all the masks and makeup of monsters, the real villains were just people.
Really? No such thing as a ghost.
No, exactly.
So, Pete, did you get an answer to your question? Is lore fact or fiction?
Well, I think we know really deep down that it's all just fiction, but there are still people out there that treat it like fact. Those very strange people that they do. So yeah, it's going to take a long time before we
I
can
just
stop
read
it.
a book called The Anomaly, where an aeroplane basically goes into a storm, but it comes out of the storm and it's all been a bit hairy, and everybody goes about their business. And then about 3 months later, another aeroplane exactly the same comes out with all the same people on it, and suddenly there's two of everybody. So yeah, imagine like landing and discover that actually there's another version of you that's 3 months older.
There's a
Like, where would you go and live? Where would you go and live? And your bank account details would be the same as the other person. Anyway, one of the theories of it, they're trying to work out why it's going on, is that the whole thing is a simulation.
Oh right. Yeah.
And actually, the Earth is a complete simulation by another higher power, or by a more sophisticated intelligence that's basically running a computer simulation of us. And that's why this simulation is just a glitch, like a bug. That was quite an interesting book. It's called The Anomaly.
By a French. It's a bit like the Matrix in a way.
Well, they talk about the Matrix in it, and they explain why it's different. I remember now, because obviously it's set in the real world. So they do say, because when they talk about this simulation, there's quite a lot of mathematicians in it. They talk about the simulation. They go, "Oh, is it like the Matrix?" And they go, "Oh no, it's not like the Matrix because
we'll get sued."
Yeah, they talk about Smith, Agent Smith, and what he was trying to do, and how it would be different. So
that's quite
it's an interesting book. Yeah.
There's an episode just to drag it back down to the lower.
What are you looking for? It's like.
I noticed there's a spider. There's a spider crawling around on my ceiling, so just try and see where he's gone. So
okay. There were a lot of spiders in here. When I was away on holiday, the spiders moved in. It's odd because I sealed it all up, but they got in the bar.
They still get in.
Yeah. Well, when I say a lot, there's like 4, but yeah, it's more than none.
Yeah. There's a Rick and Morty
We've
episode.
managed to waffle through to 11 o'clock. We've got 4 people watching. People clearly didn't like my theory of telling them about the book that I was reading.
They didn't.
So anyway, we've got 5 people. So I thank you for tuning in, everybody. I hope you found it interesting. If it was a bit more rambly than we've been used to of late, maybe.
We've been sick and on holiday and
maybe
stuff,
not.
so we need.
Yeah. So yeah. If you have any ideas for subjects of conversation, then do let us know. If you're listening to the podcast, do contact us via Twitter or Facebook. But if you're listening on YouTube, then do pop in a comment any ideas for future chats or anything else you want to see on our podcast / Tuesday Night Live. As ever, it's been really good fun. VJ just mentioned it was very nice hanging out. Yes, good to hang out with you, VJ, or more. Big boy, VJ. Even though all these years I've known you all. It's nice to chat. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks' time when maybe I don't know what we're talking about. We might have some underworlds to talk about by then, or I don't know. We might have probably found a new game, knowing us.
Probably there'll be the new thing that we're going to be millionaires of.
Millionaires, YouTube millionaires.
And next Tuesday, hopefully all being well, next Tuesday we shall be streaming a game live on YouTube. So do like and subscribe and ring the bell to find out when that comes up and what's going on.
I have actually got a board game that we need to play. I was sent it by the publisher.
Oh, there we go.
It's a family board game that involves buses. I'm quite looking forward to it.
Buses. Okie. Yeah. Get behind that.
Fantasy buses. Sadly not.
Okay.
Right.
There you go.
Cheers, everyone.
See you soon.
See you soon.
Bye.